money and taxes from cops and the military and spies? Isn't that what's going to keep us safe? No, don't believe it. It's misdirection. It's a con. They're trying to divert our attention from the truth. They're trying to keep our eyes off the truth. Is there any real evidence that any of this is making us safer? Because I think there's a lot of evidence that it's making us less safe. I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs from a letter from New Jersey Congressman Rush Holt to the TSA Administrator John Bistoli. When Americans witness 3-year-old children being aggressively patted down by TSA screeners, as was the case this month, our airline security screening system is broken. As a scientist, the guy has a PhD from Columbia in physics, and chairman of the Select Intelligence Oversight Panel, I appreciate the challenges we face in trying to prevent terrorists from boarding American airlines. The same background gives me an understanding of why TSA's current obsession with fielding body imaging technology is misguided, counterproductive, and potentially dangerous. In March, the Congressional Biomedical Caucus, of which I am co-chair, hosted a presentation of this technology by the TSA, as well as a briefing by Dr. David Brenner of Columbia University on the potential health effects of backscatter X-ray devices. As Dr. Brenner noted in his presentation and in subsequent media interviews, the devices currently in use proposed wider deployment this year currently delivered to the scalp 20 times the average dosage that is typically quoted by TSA and throughout the industry. So apparently we can't trust what they tell us about the radiation. Dr. Brenner has pointed out that the majority of the X-ray from X-ray backscatter machine touches the top of the head, where 85% of the 800,000 cases of basal cell carcinoma diagnosed in the United States each year develop. According to Dr. Brenner, excessive X-ray exposure can act as a cancer rate multiplier, which is why our government should investigate thoroughly potential health risks associated with this technology. So there's reason to believe these devices are giving us cancer. So you can't trust the TSA to use safe techniques. The letter goes on to say that it appears these devices can't detect explosives or other dangerous objects inside body cavities, and it remains unclear whether the AIT would have been able to detect the weapon Mr. Abu Muttalib used in his attempted attack. So they're giving us cancer, but they don't work. By the way, Abu Muttalib was the underwear bomber, and by the way, he was stopped by passengers, not by the TSA. So again, from the letter, headlong rush to embrace fallible technology will only give the public the illusion of increased security at the expense of their privacy and dignity, with no assurance that the use of machines will actually detect or deter terrorists before they act. So this isn't science, it's a show to make us think we're safe. And it's an expensive show. Right after 9/11, I saw Mitt Romney testify in front of a congressional hearing where he said that he was governor of Massachusetts then, that they were putting police in front of the Sumner Tunnel, but that the police couldn't really do anything if there was a terrorist attack. It was all there just to make people feel safer. This morning I got into the subway at Borough Hall. There were about 6 or 8 cops standing around with all their little gear, waiting for somebody to frisk. But if I'm a terrorist, I'm just going to walk to the other entrance on the other side of the street. Who are they kidding? Condé Nast travel site, John Tate, reports that they're not finding any explosives with the scanners, but they are finding a lot of drugs. So at least they're catching somebody. Here's an idea. This stuff isn't keeping us safe, but here's an idea that would keep us safe. How about if we end the drug war and redeploy those resources back to real crimes like blowing up airplanes? How about if we get the cops out of the subway and redeploy those resources?
No.
Speaking of drugs, it doesn't appear that our TSA agents have overwhelming respect for the law either. Last year, CBS reports that in Los Angeles, TSA agents were caught on tape using drugs. Get this, the only reason they were caught on tape is the guy that taped them was being investigated for counterfeiting parking passes. The TSA agent that taped the party was being investigated for counterfeiting parking passes. So these are the guys that are supposed to be keeping us safe. In Buffalo, just this past year, a TSA agent apparently routinely escorted drug dealers past security. These are the people that are supposed to be keeping us safe.
Apparently, I didn't get that.
I got stranded in the Chicago airport one night due to a snowstorm. When my bags finally showed up the next morning, they were wrapped up with TSA tape, and 2 videos had been stolen from them. Now, these are bags that were supposed to be under secure conditions since I handed them over to the TSA. If they can take something out, they can probably put something dangerous in. Right? These are the guys that are supposed to be keeping us safe. They're not keeping us safe. We need real solutions, and real solutions start with real causes. So let's ask about where terrorists come from. Let's remember that the United States government armed and trained the Taliban in Afghanistan before the Soviets invaded in the late 1970s. Let's remember that our government supported Saddam Hussein in his war against Iran with billions of dollars, chemical weapons, technology, and intelligence. But that was to keep us safe from Iran, right? And of course, Iran is this huge breeding ground for terrorists. What is it with Iran? Why can't they behave? Wouldn't it be great if Iran was a popularly elected democracy? It would be a different world if Iran was a popularly elected democracy, but it was in 1952 until the CIA had a coup that overthrew Mohammad Mossadegh and left it in charge of a mass murdering Shah who could only be overthrown by the theocracy in charge of it now. And instead of a popularly elected democracy, we have a breeding ground for terrorists. This isn't keeping us safe. This was intended to protect us from communism. But communism collapsed under its own weight, and we're left to deal with the consequences of our fear. This isn't keeping us safe. I'll tell you what will keep us safe. A non-interventionist foreign policy will keep us safe. We need real solutions, and real solutions don't come from bureaucrats and lobbyists. They come from real people working hard and thinking hard at their jobs and in their communities to come up with ways to make things better in their jobs and their communities. People with the freedom to innovate. Freedom to innovate doesn't come from bureaucrats and lobbyists. It comes from the free market. What we don't need a Transportation Safety Administration. We need transportation freedom.
Yes!
We don't need less freedom. We need more freedom. Less freedom won't make us safe. More freedom will make us safe. Remember, with a non-interventionist foreign policy and no drug war, we'll have a lot less terrorists and we'll have a lot more money left to focus on the few terrorists that are left. With transportation freedom, we'll unleash the power of millions of minds. We'll get lots of good ideas, ideas we can never anticipate until those minds are unleashed. We have a choice. We can choose fear or we can choose freedom. What's your choice going to be?
Freedom!